I guess we're just kind of rolling with it and see where it goes from there.
All right, that works. Not like it was the first time where we were live on your stream while we did it.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, that was definitely and I'm not going to say one way or the other is better because we had chat interaction first.
Right. So we kind of had a back and forth, not only between us, but
with the chat.
People.
So
yeah. Well, I know that you said for the idea that getting into another episode, you were talking about how you had been going to local wrestling shows.
Oh yeah. So we can definitely talk about that, and it's even better because one of my friends, the one that got married, the one I sent you the pictures of.
Mm-hmm.
Today's his birthday.
Oh, nice! Happy birthday, dude.
So yeah, that's a fun kind of coincidence. Because I know you said you've been going to a couple of the wrestling shows in your area, so yeah,
they're fun, dude. They're a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I actually prefer kind of like the local pro wrestling to like the big stuff.
Yeah, I think it's more it's more involved with the crowd.
Yeah, and that's definitely something I want to talk through once we actually get started. Just some like experiences with that. Coming from both of us, especially location, with you being Kentucky and me being Arizona, there's probably some similarities, probably some differences.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely. Now with the wrestling company TSW that I usually follow here with my buddy that wrestles in it, they mostly do stuff for like that benefits other people. Like they'll do fundraisers and stuff like that. That's mostly what their wrestling company does.
Okay, so yeah, some of the ones that I go watch, because there's technically 3 different companies that I go to see out here. Mm-hmm. 2 of them do a lot of like charity stuff, and the other is actual just like, this is pro wrestling. They are trying to get their name on the map to eventually move up.
Right.
And that is very different experience.
So which ones would you say, which they probably both have like their ups and downs, of course everything does, but which ones have you enjoyed the most?
So, and I'll actually call it out when we're actually on the podcast, the name of the company, because
you can go ahead. Like we've already started.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. Then yeah, the one I've enjoyed the most is Party Hard Wrestling here in Arizona. Okay. It is put on by great people. Like the guy that runs it also wrestles in it, and they just have a lot of fun with it. They raise some money for people depending on the event, but most of all, it's kind of just a bunch of people that love wrestling that really want to just share that love with everyone. Like the matches are always fun. Crowd is always engaged for Party Hard. And they wrestle at a local place. The place has been there for over 100 years. It's called the Nile Theater in Mesa. And it's just the most fun I've had going to wrestling shows.
That's awesome. That reminds me of TSW here in Kentucky. It's Mike Murphy. He owns it and wrestles in it. And it's really cool because just like you were saying, they constantly keep the crowd engaged and going the whole time.
Oh yeah, like the last like the last Party Hard event I went to, my buddy Wes, shout out to him, it's his birthday.
Nice.
He was wrestling a quote unquote blow up doll. And he straight up at one point he straight up threw that thing to the crowd, and we were like crowd surfing the thing around. That wasn't just like a normal, like, oh, you filled it with air. No, they filled that fucker with sand. That thing was about 15, 20 pounds. And we're just eating it around the crowd.
This big blow-up doll filled up with sand.
Yeah, like we, because me and my girlfriend are friends with him, like, she was messaging him before the show, and he was like, all right, I want you guys to sit in this area. He said, I'm not going to spoil what I'm going to do, but I want you to sit here. Yeah. I'm going to start it, and you guys just follow along. I'll do the rest. And he like threw this thing at us. I caught it and started just throwing it around. And like it was just a lot of fun. Like that event is always a blast.
I'd imagine the blow up doll is just like going through the crowd, and then all of a sudden it just disappears, and someone's like, whoa, hold up.
It was going through the crowd, and well, the match wouldn't end until one of them got pinned. So it got to the other side of the venue.
Oh shit.
And he's like, send that fucker back. And they just threw it into the ring.
That's awesome.
I'm pretty sure there's videos floating around somewhere on Instagram and Facebook of this, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. I know coming up, I'm going to have like almost 3 weeks in a row of wrestling.
Nice.
Because all three companies have shows coming up in the next like couple weeks. So that's going to be fun. My biggest problem, and I know a lot of people have this issue. When you go to local wrestling shows, especially the ones that are taking themselves a little bit more seriously, the crowd can kind of be off-putting to newcomers.
I could see that because they're already part of like what's going on. Like they're already kind of in the loop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
so the best way I could put it is when I first went to a show, which was a little less than a year ago to the day. It was like at the end of August last year. I went to a show, and the crowd, like, there was several guys that were just, best way I could put it is the sweaty neckbeards that take everything super seriously with wrestling.
Yeah. It's still real to me,
damn it. Yeah, they're sitting there shouting, and like there was a women's match, and just everything was misogyny. Like every other word out of these guys' mouth was bitch.
Oh,
and
yeah.
If I hadn't gone with my girlfriend, and she said like this was like right before we were dating. If I hadn't gone with her and she hadn't told me that's not what it's normally like, I probably wouldn't have gone back to a show. Like,
yeah,
the crowd was just so off-putting. So, honestly, my best advice for anyone that has been to one of those and seen crowds like that, don't let that discourage you. There are good companies out there. You just got to figure out what your crowd is.
Yeah, because the companies really don't have any control over the crowds. You know?
No, the companies don't have any control over the crowds. At some point, if they're abusive long enough, they'll ban people from the crowd. Like we've seen here in Arizona, I've seen one or two people that were like mainstays at every show that just they're not there anymore.
Oh shit!
And
so they're just banned.
I'm wondering just straight up if they got banned, but
it's possible.
At the end of the day, what people got to realize is this is entertainment. This is for fun. If you're taking it so seriously, that you're cursing out other wrestlers, you're cursing out other people in the crowd, you're making it not fun for not just the person you're yelling at, everyone else in that crowd.
Right, exactly. Because it's the whole point of it. It's supposed to be entertainment. It's supposed to be nothing but a good time. You know. Of course, there's stories that you can get invested in and stuff like
that.
There's
storylines that you get invested in. There's people you end up hating because they play like the really good heel.
Mm-hmm.
So you end up hating them. But at the end of the day, I have not talked to a single one of those wrestlers and not come away with feeling that, like, they're all good people. They're there because they love wrestling and they love putting on a show. They're having fun. They're great. Like, the people here in Arizona and Las Vegas, since I've been up there for some shows, they are great people. And I love the shows that they put on. I love, like, what they do. And just talking to them after the matches, they're all super chill. They're all really appreciative when people enjoy the matches.
Oh yeah, dude. Because I mean, they do put their bodies through hell.
Oh yeah, they're like people that say it's fake. No, wrestling is staged.
Right.
There is a big difference.
Those bumps and slams and stuff, that's real.
Yeah, the bumps and slams getting thrown through tables, that's all real. So, the ones that say fake, no, it's not fake. I understand if you're sitting there like, well, the winner's predetermined. Yeah, it is.
Right.
But they're still taking those hits. They're still taking those slams, the bumps, everything. They're getting hit hard. And they're going out there and putting on a show for essentially the love of wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. For sure.
And it's interesting for me as someone that did the kind of wrestling that you'll see in like the Olympics to go watch these shows, because I can see the ones that did that kind of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
The way they break away from certain moves, the way they stand up, the way they move, you can see it in the footwork, and it's like, oh, that guy wrestled. Oh, that guy wrestled.
Right, you can tell when they've actually like done the actual like the what is that wrestling compared to the other? What do they call that? Traditional wrestling? Is that what they convert?
I think that's what it's traditionally like. It's traditional wrestling. The stuff you'll see at the Olympics is Greco-Roman, but a lot of it shares the same footwork. So when you sit there and you see these guys wrestling in like WWE or AEW or even your local wrestling shows, you can tell the ones that started from like the quote unquote traditional wrestling and moved into like the entertainment style versus the ones that just came into the entertainment style. They were either right build, knew someone that got them in, whatever. Just the way the footwork and everything is, you can see a difference.
I've honestly put a lot of thought into possibly getting into wrestling myself.
And funny enough, both me and my girlfriend were asked if we wanted to get into it at one point from our friends and some of the other wrestlers that were nearing the end of their like time. They're about to retire entirely.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, yeah. They saw me at one like a convention and they were like, hey, you have the right build to be a wrestler. Would you want to do that? And the number one thing I have to say is no. I've taken too many hits to the head. I have bad enough knees already. I don't need it.
I was seriously just waiting for your answer because I know about your history.
Yeah, as fun as it would be, I've taken enough damage to my body already. I don't need this style of wrestling on top of it.
You go in your first match and take a blow to the head immediately?
Yeah, pretty much. That'd be my luck. Take a blow to the head, get thrown out of the ring, hit the like post on the side, just yep, I'm screwed.
Your knees get shattered.
Yeah, jump off top rope, my knee just buckles.
What are some of like your favorite like skits that you've seen in the ring? There was this one that I saw on YouTube recently where they started out with this one dude doing a finisher move where he was gonna stick his thumb up the dude's butt. And then the dude's thumb gets stuck up that dude's butt, and then another wrestler comes up behind that dude, and then they do the whole
and does
hop
the
up.
same thing, yeah.
Yeah, and then eventually it becomes this big centipede.
My probably my favorite gimmick that like happens every time. He's a friend of both mine and my girlfriend. My girlfriend's done some artwork for him on commission.
Nice.
Wrestler's name is Thugnificent. And every time he comes out and every time like the ref does, like the pat down, make sure that you don't have anything sharp and like the leg guards or everything. My boy lays down, hands behind his back like he's getting arrested. And
search me.
The ref always looks around like, wait, what? No.
Not that kind of pat down.
Yeah, like he'll come out like that, and then when he goes for his finisher, it's always a backflip off the top rope. Nice. Like this dude gets some air.
I love seeing that.
And like outside the ring, he's just one of the nicest guys I've ever talked to. Like he's so appreciative of everything. Like I went to buy one of his shirts because my girlfriend did the design. And normally he was selling them for like $25, $30. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, for you, like, he said, what do you got? I said, I can run to the ATM. I got 10 on me. He said, no, that's fine.
Yeah, what do you got?
Yeah, it was like, if, like, you only have $5, $10, he was taking that.
Yeah, I'm gonna run them pockets for the merch right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling him like I'll be right back. I'll run to the ATM and grab whatever I need for like the actual cost of the shirt. And he said, "No, what do you have on you? 10? I'll take that. I'm fine with that."
What if you're like 100? He's like, yeah, that sounds good. I'll take that.
Well, I mean, the man makes mead, like the honey wine.
Oh, nice.
And he straight up just brought bottles and given them to us. So if he straight up said 100, I'd have been fine with that just because of all the stuff he's given us over the last like year. So
like that adds up.
Yeah, it adds up. Like, dude sitting there making all this and giving us the bottles for free. Like, I'll pay some extra for the shirt. I don't care.
He's a brewer. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and the stuff's good, too. So, I'm like, yeah, are you selling this? I'll buy this. Like, the one specific one is like a blackberry mead, and it's super tasty. I'm like, I need more of this.
Oh, man. I remember one time I used to go visit my buddy at his college, and he used to make homemade, I guess it was like beer in his fridge.
Yeah,
I remember it being like in this jug. It was just in this ghetto jug.
Oh, yeah. Like it's actually fairly easy to make your own alcohol. It's just a matter of taste. Like you need to that's something you learn over time, like, oh, how much of this to put in, how much of that to put in, so that you get like the taste that you want.
I don't know anything about alcohol. I've never looked into how to make it.
I know with beer, it's actually pretty simple. I'm not so sure about mead. I think that's actually pretty easy too. It's just it's flavor. It's amount of ingredients that you use for everything. I know people that make their own vodka, because you can do that with potatoes pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me and Sandy make our own wine.
Yeah, wine's a good example. And like, obviously you got moonshiners everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't got to tell you about that.
Oh, dude, yeah. This is like their origin story out here.
Yeah, that, like, you're moonshine central.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like, I haven't thought about doing it myself. Like, realistically, I'm like, I'll just buy my own.
Right.
I don't have the patience to do that.
I don't either. Yeah. It's way too much work.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to sit there and... Like, I remember they did an episode of Futurama where they made beer in the robot Bender.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like a 2-3 week process, and I'm like, I don't got time for that.
That's way too much work.
Like, let me go to Walmart and pick up a 30-pack before I sit there and spend 3 weeks making a 12-pack of beer.
Yeah, I think I would probably break down in the process. Be like, I'm just gonna go buy some beer.
Pretty much.
Oh.
But yeah, the wrestling shows have been fun. The other company I've really been enjoying is called Wrestle Drag.
Okay.
It is the personal project of a former wrestler from the third company I go see, IZW.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's a very inclusive wrestling. Obviously, wrestling at times can be not very inclusive to those of the LGBTQ community.
Right.
But Wrestle Drag has both the wrestling, they have drag performers, and in one case, they have both.
Nice.
Because one of the wrestlers also does drag. So they'll sit there and like do their drag performance, then do their match, and then do another drag performance.
Well, shit, that works out perfectly for them.
Oh yeah. But yeah, that one's a lot of fun. And then the one that I feel like the crowd sometimes takes a little too seriously is called IZW.
Really?
Like, don't get me wrong.
There's always that one company.
Don't get me wrong. The wrestling is top notch. They got a lot of very serious wrestlers. Like, they put out a great product.
Mm-hmm.
It's the crowd that can be an issue with that one.
Damn.
Like,
that's a shame.
For an example, we went to the last show that they had, and the first match of the night was for the Wrestle Drag championship belt. And the dude that came out with the belt was wrestling a guy that was wearing like pink pants.
Yeah.
And this dude in front of us was just spouting like the most homophobic stuff to the dude in the pink pants. And we're like, you realize he's wrestling for the Wrestle Drag Championship, right? Like, did your two brain cells ever rub together and realize that? And that's the
People
problem.
are stupid.
Like, I was about 2 seconds from just popping this.
That's what got me about these, like, there's, like, especially teenagers, dude. That's something I realized at the show I went to recently.
Some of the teenagers are just bad.
Like I thought, like, I feel like were bad.
Yeah, I feel like they see some of, like, the worst of the worst on, like, WWE and everything, like the fans and the crowds there, and decide to emulate that.
Dude, I don't know how because those people got to be in those crowds, especially for those big companies.
Yeah, like I don't get why people aren't sitting there for wrestling and just having fun.
Well, the thing is like they're throwing slurs at them like it's like I don't know, it's like, do the fans not get it? It's like, do you not understand that these people that are up here wrestling, that is not them. You know what I mean? In a sense, it's like that's a persona.
That is that's a character. It's essentially they're actors.
Yeah.
At the end of it.
So like all your slurs and all your stuff, it honestly doesn't make any sense.
And that's what's hilarious to me. Because I'm friends with these wrestlers and I talk with them.
Yeah.
I want to say about like 50-60% of the wrestlers that are here, Arizona or Vegas, are all part of the LGBTQ community.
Oh, yeah?
Like they're bisexual, pan, gay, whatever it may be. And you have these idiots out there just throwing all the slurs because wrestling, it's a man's sport. And it's like, look at the wrestlers.
Look at the wrestlers we've had for years.
Yeah. Like, especially, and I don't know how that got started. I genuinely am not sure. I think it came from Lucha. But so many of these wrestlers come out with, like, the bedazzled name on their ass.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, wow, you bedazzled that yourself, buddy?
It's so funny. Like, if you look back on, like, some of the 80s wrestlers and some of the shit they would wear, and and yeah, I don't know. It's just so funny. Like, all this shit's been right in your face this entire time, and yet,
because
this dude who wears pink pants over here a slur.
Yeah, wasn't it Ric Flair that wore like a feather boa? Like the
pretty sure, yeah.
Like, come on. You are talking about people having fun. Keep the slurs, keep all that just out of it entirely. Let people just have fun and enjoy it.
Yeah, and the only reasons the wrestlers give any attention is because they're only trying to keep the show going.
Exactly. Like, we've talked to some of the wrestlers after that kind of hazing, and they're like, "Oh my god, I wanted to punch that guy so badly."
Oh yeah.
Like, they're sitting there just yelling at them, shut the fuck up. And it unfortunately doesn't work because responding to those trolls, all that does is make them realize they got under your skin. Now they're going to go for it 10 times more.
Yeah, and that's the back and forth that sucks for a wrestler, I would assume, because you can't exactly break character and be like, "Shut the fuck up, brat." You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, they do stay in at the local shows here. They do. They'll just be like, or they won't break character, whatever character they're in. How like they're coming out and yelling at the start. That's how they'll tell the guy to shut up.
Yeah.
But then you talk to them after, and they're just like, "Oh my god, I wish I could get this guy, out of here. I wish we could just kick him out."
Yeah. I guess it really depends on how bad the fan actually is. Like, if it becomes too much of a disturbance, then they'll kick him out.
It's one of those where I don't think they'll, unless it gets extremely bad, I don't think they'll ever kick someone out in the middle of the show. But at the same time, they may be told you're not welcome back. Like, if we see you buy a ticket with your name, if we see you here again, you will not be let in.
Right.
Which, I mean, I guess is good and bad. Like, okay, you're stopping these people from coming in, but at the same time, you're letting your wrestlers face a whole night of abuse from these kind of people.
Yeah, could you imagine having to be a dude that says, "Yeah, I'm banned from the local wrestling scene"? Like that would be so embarrassing.
Like, how are you gonna sit there and take pride in being the guy that got booted out from the local wrestling?
Yeah, like that above everything should just scream how much of a loser you are.
Yeah, that's one of those where it's just like, I think you need to kind of take a step back and reevaluate your life there.
I'm gonna need you to step back a moment. Take a look.
I'm gonna need you to, think about this, like what you're doing here.
What's some of the worst like injuries you've seen live?
Injuries, I've seen quite a bit of cuts. There was one match where it was Party Hard. They brought out some those like skewers you use for like kebabs and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, someone had them one of the women wrestlers got trapped, and her opponent grabbed a bunch of them and just kind of spiked them into her forehead.
Oh!
And it wasn't like a hard spike, but it was enough to cause a cut. And you know with head cuts that those things bleed.
Oh yeah. You're like a stuck pig.
Oh yeah, it was pretty bad. Besides that, I've seen some other injuries, but they weren't serious enough to stop a match. Probably a couple twisted ankles, stuff like that.
Right.
Maybe some pulled hamstrings, stuff that has kept the wrestlers out for 2 months after that while they rehabbed it. But I've been lucky enough that I haven't seen any serious injuries. Although talking with my one friend after the match, my boy got chopped so hard, it turned purple after about a half hour.
Oh man, I love hearing a good chop story.
And he straight up said, "I've never been chopped so goddamn hard in my life. That shit hurt."
Left an entire handprint.
It left more than a handprint. That was right in the center of his chest, and it was just like a giant, circular bruise. Because he got chopped a couple times, so it was just boom, boom, boom. It all just kind of blended together. And he straight up said, "I've never been chopped so hard in my life."
This man saw God for a second.
Yeah, he got chopped so hard. This man saw God. What about yourself? You seen any kind of injuries and stuff at any of those events you've been to?
Not yet so far. Like you said, just the overall general injuries that come with doing that type of work.
Yeah, some cuts, some stuff from going through through tables or getting thrown out of the ring, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, there's all people when it comes to chops, man, wrestlers really want to have their chops down, so you always see some good chops.
Oh yeah. I still say one of the most fun moments I had at a wrestling match. So to preface this, have you ever seen like TikTok he's on TikTok, Instagram. You'll see like a normal video, then the dude will pop up, element of surprise.
Yeah.
That dude's a wrestler.
Really?
I saw him live in Vegas. That dude is like the nicest guy I've ever talked to. Like, we were there ahead of time at a convention, and he just came over after he went out there to warm up and just talked with us for 15, 20 minutes.
That's awesome.
And we were sitting there, watching his match. And because this was like an anime and gaming convention, girl came out dressed like Tifa and threw him the sword, like Cloud's sword. And he used that as part of his finisher to win the match.
That's awesome.
And like, we talked with him after that, and he said, that's been a year in the making. He said, I met her at this convention last year.
And wow, and so they had set that up since then.
He said when I was planning on coming back, he said we'd stayed in touch. I messaged her. I'm like, are you going to be there this year? I have an idea for something for the wrestling. And she said, yeah. He said, what are you going dressed as? Because she was cosplaying the entire weekend. And when she said Tifa, he said, all right, perfect. And worked that into the match. And that's kind of what I love about going to wrestling that's at an anime or gaming convention.
Oh my God, I couldn't imagine.
You get these first-time watchers, people that have never watched wrestling before in their life, and they bring just such a different energy to it than the ones that have watched wrestling their whole lives. So there's actually a group of 4 girls that originally went, there was a convention here in Arizona. They saw wrestling for the first time there, and they've been to every show after that. They've been coming to wrestling shows.
I would not even imagine that there would be a wrestling show at a convention like that.
Yeah, so there was 2 conventions, one here in Arizona and then one up in Vegas. And they had live pro wrestling as a part of it. And obviously, with those kinds of things, there's a little bit more gimmicky matches where you have people come out dressed like game characters, cosplaying. Yeah. And you can tell they're a bit newer to wrestling. Mm-hmm. The moves aren't as fluid as you're used to seeing. Right, but at the same time, it's entertaining. It's fun for the crowd, especially the people that are there for the convention and just kind of walking around. And then they see a guy dressed like Link pulling off an RKO.
How could you not get hype?
Yeah, so you get people walking up and watching, and all the while they're obviously announcing, in between matches, come check us out. If you're enjoying this, come check us out here.
Yeah. It's like a weird live version of Smash Bros.
Pretty much. And obviously, the main events, you have, the actual wrestlers, the ones that are usually headlining the other wrestling events. And they're out there, they're having fun, and just doing their thing. And it's great that people get to see not only, the gimmicky matches, but they get to see, the actual wrestlers go out there and do their thing. And maybe that reaches some people and pulls them to come see an actual show. In Arizona, Vegas, it's worked. I'm not so sure about like elsewhere in the country, like whether or not that's a normal thing. Like at a gaming convention, you'll see that, or how many gaming conventions there really are elsewhere in the country. Like, because obviously you've got a lot of big ones here in the Southwest between Vegas and like San Diego, LA. But realistically, how many places have the huge banquet halls and I guess the population to justify these big gaming conventions?
Yeah, it's like out here. That's a good example. Like, I think out here, maybe they have just a couple a year that they actually throw out here because of, just the area and the difference in the population and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because everyone, like, gaming has become such a big thing. There should be more of these conventions where gamers can just kind of come together and, like, the one here in Arizona, for example, they had a lot of retro gaming booths where you could buy, like, old NES games. You could buy Game Boy Color games.
Yeah.
Like they had
the prizes like.
Oh, the prices were goddamn ridiculous.
Yeah, of course, yeah, every time.
So I was curious because I have a lot of these games, like the old Pokemon games.
Mm-hmm.
An in-box version of Pokemon Yellow was going for about $500.
What?
Yeah.
That's insane.
In-box was about $500. If you were looking for even one of the newer games, like I'd been looking for Pokemon Black 2, White 2 because I actually have never played those games all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And the cheapest one they had was like $180, and I'm like, no, it's not worth it. I'll friggin' emulate it before I before I spend $180 on a friggin' DS game.
Yup. Damn, dude, it's so crazy. Like growing up with all these fucking old games I had.
Oh yeah. That's the one good thing I can say. It was only really Pokemon that was that wild. Like they had all the old consoles there, and those were roughly about 100. It was the sealed in box games that were super expensive. Like the loose ones, I want to say you could buy like Pokemon Red for about 40, which is still a lot, but
yeah,
it's like realistically, how much are you going to find a copy of that anymore that's cheap?
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Like when we were kids, it seemed like it was an endless supply. You know what I mean? But that seemed to quickly run out.
Like you went to GameStop or something, and they just had an infinite amount of games, and you look back on it because I've been gathering some of the old like PS2, PS3 games I used to play, and I'm sitting here like I sold this and got like 60 cents for it, and now it's selling online for like $200.
Imagine like a Pikachu Stone Cold stunning a fucking Bulbasaur or some shit.
Yeah, like it's ridiculous how expensive like retro gaming has become as a hobby. Like even if you want to just sit there and say like, hey, I want to replay a game that I used to love when I was a kid. It's so expensive anymore to get your hands on a copy of anything. Like I've been trying to look for a copy of Pokemon Coliseum and its sequel, and the cheapest you're going to find that is about $200.
That's fucking crazy.
And it's just not worth it. I'll sit there and try and emulate it before I spend that much money on a reseller. Like,
my buddy was like, I'm going to start a retro collection. And I was like, are you sure?
Yeah, I wish that Nintendo would sit there and, put that shit on the Nintendo Switch as
I've been saying this forever.
as
Like,
a game that you can play.
If you're going to get pissy and take down all these like emulating companies, like, and don't get me wrong, I get it. It's your product, whatever. But if you're not going to make it available to the public, like these emulation sites are,
then you can't blame the emulation, like these people from emulating the game when you're not making it readily available to people.
They're not emulating your game to make money. They're emulating it because they love playing these games.
They love playing these games and they want to make it available. They want to mod it. They want to expand on it.
Mm-hmm.
And Nintendo's just like, no, we will never allow this.
Yeah, I never understood that, dude. I never thought as a kid, because you're growing up playing these Nintendo games that are just like full of fantasy and life and rich colors and stuff, and then you see them as you grow up as a company, and you're like, oh, they're evil.
Yeah, like gaming companies are evil. Like, we've seen that with Yondu, where he was a playtester for Blizzard.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw what he went through in that crunch for, I think it was Cold War.
Yeah, I think it was Cold War.
Like, that is insane, the amount of stress and everything that they put their testers through, only to release a subpar game. And you can't blame the actual people coding it or anything. Yeah. You have to blame the parent company that's sitting there saying, we need a new game every year.
Yeah, the rush, like, that's the thing these people don't understand is, like, you always have somebody barking the order at the top, but not really understanding how it works. You know what I mean? Like, there is so much that goes into coding a video game.
Oh, yeah. And even if you're reusing the same engine from the previous year, that's a whole new coding thing that you're doing from scratch. And, I mean, maybe you can reuse assets.
Right.
But, like, you can't sit there and yell at the developers. Best example I can use is Cyberpunk.
Right.
I love that game. When it came out, it was a broken mess because the board of directors and the shareholders were like, we need this out now, so we're making our money.
And you saw what happened.
And you see what happens when a game gets rushed. If you let them... So the 2.0 update for Cyberpunk is what the head developer said they wanted the base game to be.
Right.
Like, the original game, when it launched, they wanted 2.0 Cyberpunk. That's what they wanted. And they were rushed to put it out by the corporate overlords. Yeah. And you saw what happened. Obviously, there needs to be, time constraint. Like, you can't just let a game go infinite development. We saw that Duke Nukem Forever with a 10-year development cycle.
Which is crazy.
And it was still shit when it came out.
And it was still garbage.
But you also can't put these ridiculous deadlines on them when they're designing the game how they want, especially a single-player game. You can't have it launching a buggy mess. Honestly, that's my biggest issue with gaming now. When games came out when we were younger, they were complete. Like, yeah, maybe you got a DLC later, but the game was complete. There was no day one patch for 100 gigabytes to fix this and that and this and that. It was game launched complete, and there weren't any issues with it.
If a game has to be pushed back a little bit, people should appreciate that.
Yeah, I would have much rather they sat there and said, hey, the game is not ready, we're delaying Cyberpunk by a year. like, yes, people would bitch and moan like, oh, I wanted it now. But when the game eventually came out, it would have been a hell of a lot better than it was. It would have probably been in running for Game of the Year if it launched the way it was. I mean, you saw at Game Awards it won Best Ongoing Game. If it had launched in that state, it's Game of the Year, and we're talking about it as a possible greatest game of the decade, along with like God of War Ragnarok and whatever else you want to throw in there. We'd have been talking about it as like one of the defining games. Instead, it's right there with No Man's Sky as a great redemption story, but something that came out well before it should have.
Yeah, I think they put themselves exactly in the No Man's Sky situation. I feel like it came out a broken mess.
No Man's Sky is now the game it should have been. Same with Cyberpunk. It's the game it should have been. And luckily, CD Projekt Red said they're working on a Cyberpunk sequel. And it seems like the board has learned their lesson. Essentially, the developers have said, we've been told we're going to be given the time we need to make sure this is done right.
Yeah.
Which I'm on board with. Like, if it takes me an extra 2-3 years to get the next Cyberpunk game, I'm good with that as long as it's done correctly.
Yeah, just do it right. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and I mean, you can even say that games rushed. Look at Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, back when it first came out.
Yeah, you played it when it first came out. And you playing it now, it's a completely different game.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I feel like that's the biggest issue with gaming is people at the top are only looking at, we need to get this out now so we make the most money.
It was such a broken mess that it almost
killed Final Fantasy.
Well, it almost killed Square Enix. It almost bankrupted them.
Yeah, it almost killed Final Fantasy. It almost killed Square Enix entirely. And it's like, you can't. I think that's a good example. And rush out these games. You need to let the developers do their job. Get the coding done right. Make sure there's no bugs and glitches and that everything runs as it's supposed to.
Yeah. Because when it comes to games, I feel like if you're putting something out that's going to take you just as long to fix it as it did to put it out, it's by the time you get it fixed, it's already
you've lost. Yeah, because I remember when I was playing 2.0, I started streaming Cyberpunk, and people were like, "Is this game actually, decent now? Is it not going to nuke my computer the second I try and run it?"
Right.
And you don't want your game to have that kind of reputation. You don't want people sitting there saying, "Oh, is the game actually decent now?" No, you just want to release the game when it's good. You want to release a good game that's getting all the sales and gets people interested in the world and the gameplay. And the problem is, we're not doing that anymore. It's, let's focus on the sales and screw the gamers. They'll buy it anyway. Which is
so insane to me. That is just so crazy.
It really is. Why would you ignore the consumers on that? I get it. Consumer can be an idiot sometime. I want this, I want that, and it's unrealistic.
Yeah.
But you should also be sitting there and putting out a game that you are proud of. Like, you as a developer, you as just a person that loves game. You should be putting out a game that you are proud of and that you would be willing to play yourself.
That's that. You said it right there. Anyone sitting in that chair that is a part of a gaming corporation should be someone that absolutely loves games.
Exactly. If you don't love games, you should not be anywhere near a gaming company.
No.
The only people that should be involved that don't love games are the money people. The ones that sit there and advise, like, or that are keeping track of the books and everything. And it's like, hey, we need to get this out soon, but you also have that creative pushback from the top saying the game's not ready. If we delay it, we'll make more in the long run.
Right, exactly.
You need that give and take, and right now it is just all the money people saying we need the money, screw the creative portion.
Yeah, like I don't understand how we got to this point where we're like, yeah, go ahead, put out the broken game. We'll just fix it later. I just don't understand that.
I unfortunately feel like that came with the rise of digital editions, probably around like PS3, Xbox 360 era, when you could put out patches.
Yeah.
And the companies just started focusing on getting games out as quickly as possible. One of the worst at it for a while was Ubisoft.
Oh, yeah, they're known for it. Yeah.
With the Assassin's Creed, where they were putting it out every single year.
Mm-hmm.
And the games were just, they weren't good.
Dog shit.
Like, you're sitting there watching people play, and the main character's missing their face in a cutscene.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that was one of the first videos I saw.
And I do have to give a little credit to them. They're not the greatest company, but they sat there, and after that, they were just like, yeah, we're going to ease up on dropping them every year and actually work on the games for a while. Yeah.
Do you think that some companies, because, you know, they make, how many Assassin's Creed games are there now?
Oh my God. 20, 30, somewhere around there.
Yeah. So you got to think that they're probably like reusing assets like crazy.
Oh yeah, and that was the problem. They were reusing assets over and over and over. I think that was like the 5th time they reused the same assets, and they were just piling more and more code on it, so it just broke.
I'm coded out.
And I mean, you see it. As much as I hate to say, you saw that kind of reusing assets and no creativity with Far Cry. Like, I used to love the Far Cry games. Like, 3 and 4 were really good. 5 was decent, but then New Dawn and 6 just reused the same assets over and over.
Well, that's what a buddy of mine was telling me.
Nothing new to it. There was no soul to it.
Yeah, that's exactly what he was telling me. He's like, it just feels the same. With just a maybe
and that's
a different
what you
look.
don't want with sequels. You don't want it feeling the exact same.
No, it needs to be a new experience.
EA, Ubisoft, they're all the same with doing that. Activision Blizzard, every game feels the exact same as the previous one, but they're like, oh, you're going to buy it because you want to play the new one.
Because it's made by Blizzard or, you know, whatever.
And sports games have been guilty of that for 15 years at this point.
Yeah, I was curious because I'm not into the sports gaming, so...
At this point, they're essentially just roster updates.
Really?
Like they add some small features here and there from year to year, but as someone who used to play the NHL games every year, as someone who played Madden every year, MLB The Show, the games all feel the same. Like, they haven't innovated on an NHL game since NHL 14. Madden has felt the same for the last decade. Yeah, they tweak tuners here and there to make certain things change from game to game, like how you play, but realistically, the base feel is still the same. There's no groundbreaking, there's no innovation, there's nothing new getting added to them. And I'll say this, I've been playing the new college football game. That is fun because it's something like the last college football game we got was NCAA 14.
Oh, wow.
So it's been 12 years since we got a college football game.
So is it based off roster, or is it kind of like set like the older games, kind of where you had like a career mode you could go through? And
bit of both. College football now, because of the NIL deals, they have the actual players from college football.
Oh, wow.
And players are paid for their likeness. All they have to do is just say, yes, I accept. And NCAA will send them some money for their likeness. And they don't even need to go do face scans because they'll just take photos and videos and do the face scans off those.
Yeah.
And that I don't mind, especially the college players. That was the whole, argument against the NCAA games originally, was these players aren't paid for that when everyone knows it's this player that's in there. It's that player.
Shit. Really?
Because anyone that watched college football could sit there and say, like, NCAA 14, like, oh yeah, that's this NFL superstar because they're the starting quarterback on this team.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see what you mean. Just kind of add.
It's one of those where it's easy to add up who is who based on, like, if you watch college football, and the players are just like, we're not getting compensated for this. So it was tied up in litigation for a while, like players saying we should get paid for this, and the NCAA saying if you get paid for it, you lose your eligibility.
That's crazy.
And now we have obviously the NIL, which means players can get paid while they play and retain their eligibility. And as soon as that went into effect, surprise, surprise, we saw the return of NCAA football.
Damn, so now it's back.
Saw the return of the game. Yep. It is back. I've been playing it. I have a lot of fun with it because it does something different than the other, like, Madden. Problem is, we have a monopoly. Back in the day, we had we had ESPN football and Madden. Like, we had 2K and Madden.
Right, yeah.
Like, we had competitors, so it actually forced each company to try and innovate and, do something different. And now we have one game for baseball, one game for hockey, one game for football, one game for basketball. And it's just like, it's not, everyone's gotten complacent.
Damn, that's wild. When you start becoming like the one for the said like sport games, you know?
Oh yeah, you talk about basketball, it's NBA 2K. Talk about football, Madden.
Yeah.
Hockey, NHL, MLB The Show. Like, there are no competitors anymore for those sports games because those companies essentially bought the license.
Right. That's
They
just
sat
straight
there
up bought
and
it out.
yeah, they sat there and paid the professional league an exorbitant amount of money to have exclusive rights to make the game.
Damn, dude, do you remember the Blitz games?
Yeah, NFL Blitz, and then you had NHL Hits, MLB Showdown. It was all the same company, and it was something different. It was fun. It was brutal, but it was fun.
It was just a new fun little thing to do. That kind of
It was different. It was a more arcade version of the game.
Yeah, which gamers, still would appreciate.
Yeah,
like, gamers, it's football, but I'm able to beat the shit out of this guy.
Yeah, it's baseball, but as I'm running the bases, I can friggin' launch myself 2 cleats forward into the guy on second.
Yeah, I could drop kick this dude.
I can throw a 140-mile-an-hour fastball if I know the right combo of buttons to get the fireball, and I can yeet that at the guy's head.
Shit. Sliding into first. I'm drop kicking into first.
Exactly. Like, you can stand there on the base and just punch the guy till the ball came loose.
Damn, dude. Imagine if real sports was like that. Just dudes out there beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah, you're standing on second just throwing punches.
Now, that'd be some wild sports.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But then you'd have some guy that is just for lack of a better term, they're built different.
Oh, you get a fucking lunatic out there.
Yeah, you'd get a guy in baseball that's like 6'7", 260, and slides into second, and the second baseman's like 5'9", and the big guy just elbow drops him.
Yeah, destroys him. They have to come out and get him on a fucking stretcher.
Exactly. But yeah, I'm kind of semi-excited about the direction games are starting to go, because us as gamers are starting to say, we're not accepting this style anymore where you're releasing the game half finished.
Yeah, I think enough people have come forward and put their opinions on that one.
Well, that's the thing, like Baldur's Gate. Yeah, did that launch with a couple of minor bugs here or there? Yeah, it did.
Yeah, nothing bad though. I mean, every game is going to do that.
Yeah, every game's going to have a couple of minor glitches, something that you didn't account for in beta testing.
Right.
But that game released completely finished. No day one patch needed of 100 gig to fix all the issues. Right. It was a small like 500 meg patch day one when they found a game-breaking glitch. They patched that.
Yeah.
But besides that, that game was released completed. And it won Game of the Year. The fans said, this is what we want. A game that's released, done. We want a game that's actually complete upon release, and we don't need to wait 6 months for you to patch in all the features that should have been there from the start.
You know what I think kind of bites companies in the foot? Like, I think that I think whenever you announce something way too early.
Yeah.
Like, that's another thing they've gotten really bad with is like, so-and-so game is being worked on, or and has been worked on for 2 years, and it's going to be another 3 years.
Yeah, like the best one that I can say at this point was best example of that is Elder Scrolls 6.
Oh God, yeah.
They announced Elder Scrolls 6 2 years before Starfield was done.
Yep.
And that was a flop. And
talking about Starfield
straight
or?
up, yeah, like that was didn't do as well as they were expecting, and you sat there and announced Elder Scrolls 6 2 years before you released Starfield. Like, make sure, maybe finish the game you're working on before you decide to start working or announcing another one.
Like,
make sure the game that you're releasing is working or good before you move on to the next one. Or if you're already working on it, like you have a big enough team of developers to, work on multiple games at once, don't announce the other one until the one you're currently being expected to release is out.
Yeah. It's something I see companies do way too much. Like, and this goes like all across the board with just companies in general. It's
yeah, they're announcing games 3 years before they come out, 4 years before they come out.
Like, what is
they keep trying to build the hype, and it's like no.
One that comes to mind is that I'm thinking of right now is Fable.
Yeah.
Isn't there supposed to be a new Fable game?
Yeah, I think they announced that there was supposed to be a new Fable game back in like 2020.
Yeah.
And it's not supposed to launch until next year. Let's see. It was confirmed in 2020. So it originally began development in 2016, it was speculated.
Wow.
And then 2017, it started gaining traction, and then confirmation in 2020. So you confirmed, we're working on this game. All right, it's 5 years since you announced that.
I think when you do that, you kill the hype. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like where is any kind of hype for a game that's 5 years away? Like, I have a friend that is a huge Dragon Age fan.
Mm-hmm.
And they did that right. Like, it came out that they were working on Dragon Age, but they didn't officially announce it or showcase anything until the Game Awards this year. And it's coming out in a couple months.
See, that's how you do it.
I
feel like that's how you do it.
So much hype for Dragon Age. Like, it was known for a while that the next game they're working on is Dragon Age. The next game they're working on is Dragon Age. Where's the news? Where's the news? Where's the news? There was none. They did not say anything until the game was just about ready to go. And then they said, hey, here's the next Dragon Age game. Here's the name of it. And here's a little, like, clip. It comes out later this year. And the internet went nuts.
That's why I love how FromSoft does all their promoting and stuff. The company behind the Dark Souls games and stuff. They keep that shit.
They don't
very
do that.
minimal.
Yeah, they keep it close to the chest. Very minimal, like, releases about it. Mm-hmm. Too many games now are sitting there, and essentially with the video clips that they're putting out, 90% of the plot before the game comes out.
Yeah, or you keep getting like these trailers that it says gameplay, but it can be changed and shit like that. Like, I don't know, I just feel weird about stuff like that. They're just trying to pump out too much too early.
Just do what FromSoft does. Do what BioWare did, where you're not releasing anything until you have something.
Yeah, if anything, if you know what like the artwork style is going to be like, get you a picture that you can post.
You can release some concept art. And to be fair to like Bethesda for Elder Scrolls 6, all they did was say Elder Scrolls 6 and show a picture. There was no like gameplay or anything like that.
Yeah, see, that's not horrible.
That's not horrible, but also they were still in the middle of, the Starfield cycle.
Yeah.
So why would you announce that? Because they're saying, Elder Scrolls 6 probably won't come out for another like 3-4 years.
Jeez.
And you announced it 2-3 years ago at this point.
And by the time it comes out, you've killed the hype.
Yeah, there's no hype left.
I think that you should wait until your game is looking pretty damn good. You know what I mean?
Until your game is getting close to going gold. Essentially, until it's damn near ready for release, and you're just doing some final bug tests and fixes.
Right. Then
that's when you promote the shit out of it. Like, if it's, for sure, it's about 6 months before the game goes gold, you're in a good spot, that's when you want to announce it, fine. That gives you enough time to really build up the hype by releasing little bits and pieces here or there.
Yeah, with confidence of a fully made game. Yeah.
Instead, now you're sitting here releasing games that you've been hyping up for 6 years, and it's still not finished.
Yeah. I think that's why there's been so much push towards like indie gamers lately. I've seen a lot.
Yeah, because indie games are being released finished. Like the people working on them, care to have it done and ready to go. And that's why the indie game scene has really blown up, because people want to play the games where people just care.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying the programmers and the actual developers of these games don't care.
Right.
The companies don't.
Right. The people actually pushing the product really don't give a shit about the game itself.
Yeah, they don't care about the game itself. They don't care about the gameplay. They don't care about, the story or the characters or anything about it. They just see dollar signs.
And I that's why I appreciate the indie scene. And it's something I've been wanting to get into myself, is trying out some more indie games and, actually playing some games that feel like they could even give me a nostalgic feel for, how a complete game used to feel.
Yeah, because I need to find some indie games that are like my speed, and really start to explore more of that scene, because I'm getting really tired of these games that are releasing half done.
Well, I know that you're big into shooters, right?
I haven't super been like. The only shooter I really play is Overwatch. Besides that, I'm more into like RPGs and stuff, so.
Okay. Well, I had to put a list or something together and share that back and forth.
Yeah, we gotta figure out something like, oh, I played this game, it was really good, and you need to try it.
Yeah, we should do that. Dude, it's been awesome having you on. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate coming coming back.
Yeah, dude, it's been awesome. I've really enjoyed this episode. Where can people find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at Symyro. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Symyro. And also on YouTube, youtube.com/TheSymyro. Apparently my normal username was taken. I'm gonna start uploading some more videos, mostly on Cyberpunk and the builds I've kind of put together over the last bit since the game came out, or the game was fixed.
Yeah. The 2.0?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, if anybody didn't know, you can catch me at twitch.tv/I am Joey Cruse. Pretty much I am Joey Cruse all across the board, anywhere, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. You can catch the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, pretty much everywhere. And yeah, thanks for being here, man. We're definitely going to do this again, especially with the game talk. I would like to get a couple of us, especially people that you might know as well that have this same kind of input, or anybody that could give like a whole nother perspective on the gaming talk. I would really like to get together and do another episode about
have kind of like a round table of a bunch of us together.
Yeah, I would love that.
For sure. Just let me know when.
All right, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yep, have a good one.